Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for Better Call Saul, episodes 1 and 2, Uno and Mijo. So, I've decided to do a weekly review for Better Call Saul in addition to my other videos because I thought, hey, why not? I'll be watching this show weekly, so might as well do it. And I was a huge fan of Breaking Bad, and I've been eagerly waiting for this show. Now, I've talked to a lot of people who were a bit skeptical about a prequel to Breaking Bad and wondering if Saul Goodman can handle a show on his own. But with what Vince Gilligan managed to do with Breaking Bad, I have total faith in him, and I've got no doubt that at the very least this will be an interesting show to watch. Indeed, these first two episodes had Vince Gilligan's signature all over it and his notable quality filmmaking techniques. I say filmmaking even though I know it's a TV show because Breaking Bad and this show as well have production values that are downright cinematic. So I tuned in to the first episode of Better Call Saul Uno to try and answer the question, will Better Call Saul live up to the hype? And after watching it, my conclusion was, I'm still not sure. I need to see more. However, it looks pretty promising. In fact, as I mentioned in my review of Breaking Bad, I felt the first season of that show wasn't all that great and got better as it went on. So even if the entire first season of Better Call Saul isn't spectacular, I'm still going to stick with it in the hopes it will get better. And even though this is a very different story and very different focus than Breaking Bad, it certainly has the same feel as that show. So Uno was pretty much just an introductory episode as it introduced us to the characters and the situations, and I must admit to not being overwhelmed with this. It certainly didn't have the same pop to it as the Breaking Bad first episode did. It was very interesting that they decided to start the entire series with a scene of Saul post Breaking Bad era, where it's set where he's in exile working as a manager of a cinema bun in the middle of nowhere in Oklahoma under a different identity. I liked how it was set up, how he was always on edge, thinking someone might come looking for him. Personally, I don't know who except for the cops would come looking for him because Walter White pretty much killed all of his enemies before he died, but I guess you can never tell. And of course, he watches some old videos of his Saul Goodman ads being all nostalgic about the life he had. And then we flash back to 2002 before he changed his name to Saul Goodman and was going by his birth name, James McGill. He did have a line in Breaking Bad that was his real name, and in this episode we get the backstory on why it's, his name will eventually change. So the first half of this episode, as I said, was basically set up, but then it gets a bit more interesting towards the end where Saul and James McGill comes up with a plan to con a woman into letting him represent her husband by using a couple of skateboarding con artists. And this, of course, goes horribly wrong, and this did remind me a lot of the great storytelling that made Breaking Bad great. And we get a couple of appearances from Breaking Bad characters, such as Mike, who's in these two episodes, is just working as a parking attendant, who's a pain in Saul's ass. And at the end of the first episode, we get a surprise appearance by Tuco, who's just as crazy as I remember him. Mike, however, is going to be a series regular, whereas Tuco, I think, has just made a brief appearance. So my rating for Uno is a 7. Very good. It's nothing spectacular. I found the stuff with him as a defense attorney and the stuff with him and his brother and dealing with his law firm kind of boring, but it had a strong ending, and the show as a whole is showing a lot of promise. So next we get into the follow-up episode, Mijo, which I loved. It started strong from the beginning, showing the events of the previous episode, but from Tuco's perspective. And I really would love when the shows do this, and do this well. Show you the same events, but from someone else's perspective, so you get more information on the whole situation. And then what followed was so tense and so well done, and with Saul having to bargain for his life, and once that was achieved, he had for the lives of the two dim-witted accomplices. This was great, and of course this gave Saul a surge of confidence and power, kind of similar to what Walter White got at the beginning of Breaking Bad. But where Saul was concerned, it was a boost to becoming a better lawyer, as we get this beautifully shot and edited montage of Saul going into court and kicking ass. I find it interesting that Saul has a hint of sleaziness, that we know and love from his Breaking Bad days, but it's nowhere near full on. It seems this season, at least, is going to be going into his backstory to explain how he became the sleazebag he was in Breaking Bad. Because in that show, he was completely involved in the criminal underworld, as he seemed to know all the ins and outs and had a buttload of connections. However, as we see James McGill here, he seems to want nothing to do with anything criminal, but at the end of the episode we see Tuco's associate trying to entice him into it. So you got to assume this is the beginning of how he turns into what Jesse Pinkman called a criminal lawyer. But I absolutely love how this show presents Saul as a fully developed, dynamic, and three-dimensional character. I liked him in Breaking Bad, but in that show, since he was just a supporting character, he was a bit more two-dimensional and simplistic. But this show really expands on him, showing how he wants nothing to do with the criminal world and how he's struggling to get by day by day. And while he's trying to do right by his brother, he really makes a fully developed character. Anyway, Mijo was a much more exciting and interesting episode, and after watching this, I am certain that Better Call Saul is going to be a great series. So my rating for Mijo out of 10 is a 9. Excellent. This episode started out strong and kept that feeling going even during the more slow scenes with him and his brother. I absolutely love how Vince Gilligan puts together his material, and the ending really left me wanting more, desperate to see the next episode, like any good TV series would do. Makes me kind of regret I didn't wait until later in order to binge watch the show, but what are you gonna do? So that's it for my review of Uno and Mijo. You should check out my channel and subscribe to keep up with the future Better Call Saul reviews I'll be doing. And thanks a lot for watching.